High above the mountains, where the air thins, a story drifts with the wind. It is older than the tallest oak, older than the stars guiding travelers at night. This is the story of Zeus, guardian of skies, voice of thunder, keeper of storms. Yet tonight's tale is not about battles or conquest. There are no fiery bolts, no clashes of power. Instead, it is a journey of wonder and quiet discovery. The sky is vast, alive with light and sound. But in the far north, beyond storms, lies a secret. A realm where the heavens are frozen. Clouds hang still, locked in crystal silence. Stars shine but never flicker, as if trapped in glass. The silence is so deep, even the wind forgets to move. Tonight, Zeus leaves behind his roaring heavens. He travels toward the mystery of the frozen sky. What truths wait in the stillness? What will silence teach the god of thunder? The sky had always been alive. It moved like an ocean of air, shifting in colors, carrying light and shadow. Zeus walked its currents like a king upon his throne, steady and watchful. He was not only thunder and lightning, he was the listener, the guardian, the keeper of storms. Every glow of sunrise, every drifting star, every hush of wind belonged to him. But something was different now. For days, Zeus had felt a strange stillness. It was not calm, nor the hush after thunder. It was deeper, like something missing from the world itself. He stood on the crest of clouds, gazing north. The horizon bent pale and silent, holding back its secrets. The winds that rushed to greet him now hesitated, as though afraid to speak. He lifted his hand. Lightning stirred softly at his fingertips. But the sparks felt weaker, quieter, uncertain of their own glow. "What is it you hide from me?" Zeus asked the skies. His voice rumbled low. No answer came. Stars above him blinked less often. Even the moon seemed distant. Her gaze pulled elsewhere. The god of storms grew restless. He was used to motion, roaring clouds, rolling thunder, rivers of rain. But now the heavens seemed weary, reluctant to dance. Zeus descended closer to the mortal world. Forests whispered, but the breeze was thin. Seas rolled, but their rhythm faltered, like a heartbeat slowing. Birds called, but their voices sounded muffled. Mortals looked up, puzzled, sensing something was missing. Zeus walked unseen among them, cloaked in cloudlight. He heard their prayers for rain, for fair skies, for thunder's bright voice. He also heard their confusion at the silence above. "Something is drawing the heavens away," Zeus murmured. "And if the sky falters, the world falters too." Back on his throne of clouds, unease gripped him. He called the west wind, loyal and swift. But the wind arrived, weak, trembling, short of breath. "Speak," said Zeus gently. The west wind bowed. "Far beyond the storms lies a place we cannot cross. The sky there is frozen." "Frozen?" Zeus frowned. The word felt strange. The sky was always moving. How could it freeze? The wind faded, too weary to say more. Zeus stood alone, thinking of all his ages as keeper of the heavens. Never had he heard of silence in the sky. It unsettled him, not as a threat, but as a break in creation's rhythm. A silent sky meant a silent world. Silence could soothe, but it could also weigh heavily on the soul. Zeus looked north. The horizon glimmered faintly, like ice kissed by starlight. It beckoned him, though no sound escaped it. "I cannot ignore this," he sighed. "Even a ruler of storms must sometimes leave his throne." Curiosity called him, more than power. Restless beneath fading stars, Zeus prepared for his journey. Not with weapons, not with thunder, but with wonder and caution. He raised his gaze. The heavens trembled faintly, as if sensing his departure. Clouds bent into a path leading north. The air cooled. The silence deepened. Yet Zeus stepped forward. The keeper of storms was about to meet a sky unlike any he had known. And thus begins his journey into the frozen sky. The journey northward began in silence. Zeus left behind the lands of thunder and storm. Each step carried him into colder air, thinner winds, and unfamiliar stillness. The clouds, once eager, now drifted slowly, heavy and sluggish. Even lightning flickered less, unwilling to disturb the hush. Zeus pressed on, guided by curiosity stronger than unease. He had ruled storms for ages, but never had the sky resisted him. At first, the silence felt empty, but as he listened, he heard something hidden within. The silence carried voices faint, layered, like echoes inside a dream. He paused, listening to threads of frost curling through the air. The whispers rose and fell, soft as snowflakes landing. They spoke not of danger, but of memory. Zeus felt them brushing his thoughts, reminding him of skies long past. It was strange for a god used to commanding the heavens. Now, the heavens seemed to answer him in their own language. He walked further north over mountains capped with glittering ice. The valleys below glowed faintly, holding the last light of day. Still the whispers followed, guiding him like unseen hands. Sometimes they sounded like ancient winds calling his name. Other times like frozen rivers, their voices slow but alive. The whispers grew stronger as silence deepened. They urged him toward the mystery's heart. He passed through mist sparkling like frozen glass. The air was sharp, but clear, like the breath before dawn. Zeus felt lighter with each step, as though walking into truth itself. Above him, stars no longer twinkled. They shone steady, locked like diamonds in crystal. Constellations he had known for ages seemed frozen in new shapes. "The sky itself holds its breath," Zeus murmured. His words dissolved quickly into silence. He wondered if any other gods had ventured this far north. Perhaps this journey was meant for him alone. The whispers grew clearer, steadying his steps. The sky was teaching him to listen. They spoke of balance, of storm and calm, thunder and quiet. They were not commands, only gentle truths carried in stillness. Zeus realized he was walking into understanding, not emptiness. The silence was another voice of the heavens. He pressed a hand to his chest. His heartbeat thundered louder than lightning in this quiet. For the first time in ages, he felt small, humbled, not powerless. The horizon shimmered ahead with pale crystalline light. Zeus knew he was nearing the heart of the frozen sky. The whispers faded into one steady, eternal note. He breathed deeply, calm filling his spirit. The journey was far from over, but he no longer felt restless. The silence now carried him forward. Guided by whispers of ice, Zeus stepped deeper into the unknown. Zeus lingered at the edge of silence. Behind him stretched familiar skies, alive with thunder and light. Ahead shimmered a pale horizon, locked in stillness. He hesitated, rare for a god. This was no storm to conquer, no enemy to defeat. It was a choice. He could return and let the frozen sky remain unknown. The heavens would still turn. Storms would still come. Perhaps the silence would fade, like a dream at dawn. And yet, the silence was not fading. It was growing stronger, heavier with each passing moment. The whispers carried not only memory, but invitation. The frozen sky was calling him. Zeus thought of mortals below. They looked upward for rhythm, for storms, for calm. What if the sky grew heavier each day, more withdrawn, more silent? The balance of the world might falter. His choice was not curiosity alone. It was duty. The keeper of storms could not allow the heavens to lose their voice. He was guardian, not just ruler. To turn away would be to abandon his trust. Zeus closed his eyes and listened. The whispers told him the frozen sky was not a prison. It was waiting to be understood. He remembered the west wind's trembling words. Asterisk, the sky there is frozen. Asterisk, if the winds could not carry this truth, perhaps only he could go further. Zeus opened his eyes. His hesitation melted. "I will not turn away," he said softly. "The sky is my realm. Its silence is mine. Its mystery is my path." It was less a declaration than a vow. The horizon brightened, as if answering his choice. The whispers rose, weaving into a steady current pointing north. Zeus drew a deep breath. The air was sharp and cold, yet pure. He spread his arms wide. Clouds gathered beneath him. They formed a pale silver path stretching toward the horizon. He stepped forward, not as ruler, but as seeker. Each step echoed in the stillness, which folded around him like a cloak. Behind him, Storms shifted faintly, sensing their master's choice. Mortals below may have felt the air lighten, but Zeus did not look back. The path forward was clear. The silence pressed on him, heavy but patient. His heartbeat and breath sounded louder in its weight. He did not resist. He listened. He let the silence teach him patience. What would he find? A heart of ice at the sky's core? A keeper of this frozen realm? Or a reflection of himself in stillness? The questions did not trouble him. He had chosen. Answers would come in their time. For now, it was enough to walk, to listen, to honor his vow. Thus the restless god became a pilgrim, carrying thunder in his heart, silence at his side. Step by step, the shimmer grew brighter. The frozen sky was waiting. The silver path carried Zeus deeper into the north. The air grew colder, crisp, like a single note struck on a string, sharp, pure, resonant. He moved slowly, not weary, but attentive to every detail. Clouds beneath his feet glimmered faintly with each step. It felt less like walking and more like crossing a threshold. Above him, the stars shone still, crystalline and unmoving. Their glow pulsed gently, as though matching the rhythm of silence. Zeus breathed deeply, tasting the air. It held no storm, no thunder, only a faint sweetness, as if snow had a voice. The whispers faded, replaced by something subtler. A hum lingered in the air, not sound, but presence. Zeus paused, lifting his hand to feel it. The current circled him, weightless yet undeniable. Then, before him, the air shifted. A shimmer appeared light pale as moonlit frost. Not solid, not shadow, but alive. The first sign. Zeus watched closely as the shimmer swayed like grass in wind. Yet no wind stirred here. He stepped closer, careful not to disturb it. The shimmer pulsed brighter with his approach. It spoke without words, and yet he felt it speaking. The frozen sky had noticed him. It revealed itself in answer to his vow. Zeus inclined his head in acknowledgement. No enemy, no obstacle, but a messenger. The shimmer began to move. It glided ahead, slow and steady, like a lantern in the dark. Its light trailed ribbons that hung in the still air. Zeus followed, his steps falling into rhythm. It felt natural, as though the path had always been written. More signs appeared along the horizon, tiny glimmers like frost-catching fire. Shapes suggested wings, rivers, constellations, long forgotten. Some he recognized fragments of storms past. Others were older than his reign. The frozen sky was showing him memory. Not his memory, but its own. Zeus felt awe and humility. The sky was older than Olympus, older than gods themselves. The shimmer paused, hovering. It waited, asking him to choose again. Would he follow deeper, beyond memory, into the unknown? Zeus pressed a hand to his chest. His heartbeat echoed the silent hum. He knew the answer. Yes, he whispered into the stillness. The shimmer brightened, glowing with frozen brilliance. Its light rippled across the crystalline stars. Then it moved again, leading him forward. This was the first sign. Not warning, not danger, but welcome. The frozen sky was opening itself, one veil at a time. Zeus followed, steady and calm, no longer a wanderer, but a guest in a silent hall. The silence was alive now, carrying hidden voices of light. Thunder was quiet in him, replaced by stillness. The journey had changed. He had crossed into something greater, and the frozen sky, at last, had answered. The silver path carried Zeus deeper into the north. The air grew colder, crisp like a single note struck on a string, sharp, pure, resonant. He moved slowly, not weary, but attentive to every detail. Clouds beneath his feet glimmered faintly with each step. It felt less like walking and more like crossing a threshold. Above him, the stars shone still, crystalline and unmoving. Their glow pulsed gently, as though matching the rhythm of silence. Zeus breathed deeply, tasting the air. It held no storm, no thunder, only a faint sweetness. As if snow had a voice, the whispers faded, replaced by something subtler. A hum lingered in the air, not sound, but presence. Zeus paused, lifting his hand to feel it. The current circled him, weightless, yet undeniable. Then, before him, the air shifted. A shimmer appeared, light pale as moonlit frost. Not solid, not shadow, but alive. The first sign. Zeus watched closely as the shimmer swayed like grass in wind. Yet no wind stirred here. He stepped closer, careful not to disturb it. The shimmer pulsed brighter with his approach. It spoke without words, and yet he felt it speaking. The frozen sky had noticed him. It revealed itself in answer to his vow. Zeus inclined his head in acknowledgement. No enemy, no obstacle, but a messenger. The shimmer began to move. It glided ahead, slow and steady, like a lantern in the dark. Its light trailed ribbons that hung in the still air. Zeus followed, his steps falling into rhythm. It felt natural, as though the path had always been written. More signs appeared along the horizon. Tiny glimmers like frost catching fire. Shapes suggested wings, rivers, constellations, long forgotten. Some he recognized fragments of storms past. Others were older than his reign. The frozen sky was showing him memory. Not his memory, but its own. Zeus felt awe and humility. The sky was older than Olympus, older than gods themselves. The shimmer paused, hovering. It waited, asking him to choose again. Would he follow deeper, beyond memory, into the unknown? Zeus pressed a hand to his chest. His heartbeat echoed the silent hum. He knew the answer. Yes, he whispered into the stillness. The shimmer brightened, glowing with frozen brilliance. Its light rippled across the crystalline stars. Then it moved again, leading him forward. This was the first sign. Not warning, not danger, but welcome. The frozen sky was opening itself, one veil at a time. Zeus followed, steady and calm. No longer a wanderer, but a guest in a silent hall. The silence was alive now, carrying hidden voices of light. Thunder was quiet in him, replaced by stillness. The journey had changed. He had crossed into something greater, and the frozen sky, at last, had answered. Zeus walked farther into the quiet realm, steady upon the silver path. The shimmer that had guided him faded gently, leaving him alone once more. Yet he did not feel abandoned. He felt accompanied by something vast and unseen. Above him stretched the crystalline sky, neither dark nor bright. The stars gleamed sharp and unwavering, like jewels fixed in glass. At first, they seemed familiar constellations he had known for centuries. But then he noticed something unusual. The shapes had shifted, rearranged into new designs. The heavens had been rewritten. Zeus lifted his gaze fully, realizing it was no illusion. The constellations formed images, stories carved in frozen light. One showed a bird with wings outstretched. Another depicted a river winding endlessly across the sky. Still another revealed a great hand, open and reaching downward. Zeus felt the stillness deepen around him. These were not decorations. They were messages. For mortals, stars told myths and guided travelers. But here, they spoke directly to him. The constellations were the sky's frozen language. He studied the bird as its wings pulsed with light. The river shimmered, stretching further, flowing though frozen. The great hand beckoned with calm, as if offering welcome. The signs were not commands or warnings. They were invitations. The frozen sky was urging him to choose. He remembered his vow to continue forward. Now his choice was tested again. The constellations offered more than a path. They offered meaning. Zeus stepped carefully, letting the stars guide him. The bird spread its wings wider. The river bent to align with his path. The hand lowered, settling above the horizon like a promise. He felt humbled, yet uplifted. The vast sky spoke to him as a listener, not a ruler. The silence was teaching him. Mortals saw myths when they gazed upward. But here, the stars told a story for him alone. A story of guidance, rivers without end, and hands that welcomed. Zeus breathed deeply, calm filling his spirit. The constellations did not frighten him. They filled him with peace and trust. He was not walking into danger. He was walking into truth. Each frozen star became a beacon, a whisper of memory. He followed without hesitation. Thunder stayed quiet within him. The frozen sky revealed itself as part of the heavens he had always known. Stillness uncovered what had always been hidden. The constellations had always carried truth. He had simply never paused to listen. Zeus walked on beneath the frozen brilliance. The silence carried him like a song without sound. He smiled faintly, humbled yet strengthened. The path was clear. Guided by constellations, he pressed forward, not by lightning, but by frozen stars. And in their brilliance, he felt something vast, eternal, and kind. Zeus followed the silver path as it sloped downward into a valley. At its heart lay a river unlike any he had known before. Its waters did not rush, ripple, or roar. They were still, yet not frozen. The river was glass, a mirror of stars, shadow, and light. Above it, the heavens bowed in quiet reflection. Zeus approached, and the world grew quieter with each step. The hum of the constellations faded into nothing. Even his thoughts seemed hushed in its presence. The river of silence allowed no thunder, no cry, no echo. It held him in a sphere of stillness. He knelt and peered into its depths. There was no water, only memory, flowing like time. He saw mortals gazing upward with prayers on their lips. He saw cities rise, temples shine, and storms pass. Through it all, the river endured in silence. The quiet was not empty. It was full, heavy, with voices that had chosen rest. Every whisper, prayer, and song was gathered here. Zeus lowered his hand above the surface. The river waited without demand or urgency. When he touched it, he felt warmth instead of water. It was the warmth of unity, countless voices woven together. In that silence, he remembered his thunder. He remembered storms that split the skies. But here, he was no ruler of noise. He was a student of quiet. The river spoke without words, teaching him patience. It showed him that silence was strength restrained. It was choice. It was wisdom in waiting. Zeus breathed deeply, chest rising with calm. For once, he sought no control, no command. He simply listened. The river glowed softly in response. Visions appeared not of past, but of what might come. He saw skies healed, storms gentle, mortals unafraid. He saw himself not as master of thunder, but keeper of balance. The river's gift was clarity, but with it came a challenge. Would he embrace silence or return to thunder? Zeus looked across the still expanse. No bridge, no stones, yet he knew he must cross, not with force, but with trust. He stepped onto the surface. The river accepted him without breaking. He walked upon silence itself, each step lighter, each burden falling away. Thunder slipped quietly from his shoulders. The sky within him grew still. At the river's center, he paused. Visions swirled like dreams beneath his feet. He closed his eyes, breathing peace. When he opened them, the far shore awaited. The river lay behind, glowing like a promise. Zeus bowed in gratitude. The river of silence had told him everything. Its stillness had given him strength greater than storms. The path rose ahead once more, but silence walked with him now, and he carried its gift within his heart. The river lay behind him, glowing like memory. Before him stretched a vast plain, silver and silent, fading into haze. The horizon shimmered, not with light, but with presence. It was not mountain, nor sea, nor star. It was something greater, waiting beyond distance. Zeus walked forward, each step measured, each breath steady. The plain held no shadow, no wind, no sound, yet the horizon pulsed softly, like a distant heartbeat. The farther he walked, the clearer it became. The horizon was no boundary. It was a voice, silent, strong, and wordless. It whispered not to his ears, but to his spirit. At first, he doubted its call, but he remembered the constellations, the river, the silence. The frozen sky had never lied. It only spoke in ways he had not heard before. The voice rose gently, like dawn across the edge of the world. It gave no demand, no command. It offered invitation. It said, asterisk, come closer. See not as ruler, but as witness. Asterisk. Zeus stopped walking, letting the plain surround him. He stood still, waiting, listening. The horizon drew nearer without a step. Distance folded, and the voice grew clear. It spoke in images, not in words. He saw the sky as mortals did, vast and unreachable. He saw children pointing upward, weaving stories in starlight. He saw lovers gazing at stars, binding their promises. The horizon's voice was their voice. The sky belonged not only to gods, it belonged to all who dreamed beneath it. Zeus felt a shift within himself. He had stood apart for too long, the wielder of thunder, the lord of storms. But here, the horizon reminded him he was also sky. The frozen sky did not silence him. It sought to join him. It asked him to listen, to mortals as well as eternity. The voice deepened, like dusk touching day. It showed a sky ruled not by fear, but by harmony. Thunder as song, silence as rest. Zeus closed his eyes and let vision fill him. The horizon bent, infinite yet near. It was not a line to cross. It was a promise to keep. He opened his eyes, and the plain was gone. He stood where sky met sky. The horizon glowed golden, endless, and kind. The voice resonated, steady and sure. It said, guardianship, not rule. Balance, not command. Presence, not power. Zeus breathed deeply, thunder resting within. Silence lingered beside him. The stars watched with gentle approval. He bowed to the horizon in respect. The sky was vast enough for both storm and stillness, and in its voice, he found his own. The horizon pulsed once more, then softened into light. Zeus stepped forward, not to conquer, but to belong. The voice of the horizon carried him onward, not with thunder, but with the quiet strength of eternity. The horizon faded behind Zeus, but its voice lingered softly inside him. The silver plain dissolved, and pillars of stone rose, curving into a perfect ring. The sky itself seemed folded into a chamber of echoes. The air trembled, as though it remembered voices long gone. Zeus stepped into the circle, and sound pressed upon him like a tide. It was not thunder or wind, but every word ever spoken beneath the sky. The circle had kept them all, carrying voices without judgment, without loss. At first, he heard only whispers, a shepherd's lullaby, a child's first word, the prayer of a traveler beneath the night sky. Then the whispers grew into voices, flowing like invisible rivers. He heard laughter, sorrow, vows, and songs. The circle asked for nothing but listening. For the first time, Zeus realized how much he had missed. He had ruled with command, but rarely with listening. The echoes began to align, weaving sound into harmony. A child's song answered a lullaby from centuries past. A poet's words mirrored the vow of a lover. Prayers met prayers across lands and time. The circle turned echoes into chorus, and chorus into truth. Zeus closed his eyes and listened. He no longer stood as ruler, but as one among many. Fragile voices became eternal when joined together. He felt humility rise within him, soft but powerful. The circle showed him the sky was shared, not owned. Then he heard his own voice return to him. Not thunder, but a memory, spoken with awe long ago. The circle wove his words into the chorus of mortals. He breathed deeply and did not feel alone. The pillars glowed softly, light pulsing like a heartbeat. The echoes slowed, resting, but not gone. Then the circle spoke with one voice. It said, the sky belongs to all who breathe beneath it. Guard their voices as you guard your thunder. Zeus bowed his head in respect. No rebuke, no shame, only understanding. The pillars dissolved, the circle fading into air. The echoes disappeared, but the memory remained. He carried the voices like a seed within him. His thunder felt lighter, no longer command, but answer. The frozen sky had given him many lessons. Here, he learned the greatest. Power is in listening. Zeus walked onward, guardian of echoes, keeper of sky. The heavens above opened wide, endless and waiting. The echoes faded, but the rhythm lingered inside Zeus, like a steady drumbeat. The world shifted, and before him stretched a bridge unlike any other. It was woven not of stone, wood, or light, but of silence itself. The bridge glowed faintly, reaching across an endless, depthless void. Zeus paused at its edge, feeling it pulse gently, waiting for him. He stepped forward, and the silence deepened like a living presence. Each step made no sound, yet vibrations stirred within his spirit. The bridge carried thought, not weight, calm, not strength. Halfway across, Zeus looked back, but the echoes had vanished. Ahead stretched only endless stillness, daring him to lose patience. He walked on, but the silence grew heavy with his own thoughts. Not voices, not prayers, only himself. Doubt, pride, and memory filled the quiet air. The bridge gave him nothing to hide behind. For the first time, Zeus felt the weight of true solitude. Perhaps thunder had always been his shield against silence. He stopped in the center, standing still, eyes closed. The silence did not resist or embrace him. It simply was, and he understood that was its gift. Stillness was not emptiness. It was space. Space for thought, for breath, for truth. He inhaled deeply, letting the storm inside him quiet. Doubt softened. Pride thinned. What remained was steady and simple. When he opened his eyes, the bridge no longer felt endless. It stretched steady and clear, waiting for his steps. He walked again, lighter with every stride. The silence was no longer heavy. It was freeing, not absence, but companion, not weakness, but strength. At last, he reached the far side. Solid ground welcomed his step, though no earth lay beneath. Behind him, the bridge shimmered, then dissolved into the void. It left no trace, but remained within him. The bridge of stillness had spoken without words. Its silence had said all he needed to hear. He stood still, carrying the lessons of his journey. Constellations taught beauty, rivers taught memory, horizons taught presence, echoes taught humility, and the bridge, this bridge, had taught peace. Zeus breathed calmly. No need for thunder or storm. His silence was enough. The frozen sky shifted above, vast and endless. It acknowledged his passage, quiet and profound. Zeus had not escaped silence. He had understood it, and in that understanding, he was changed. He stepped forward, no longer fearing the quiet. In stillness, he had found strength, and the frozen sky waited, endless, for what came next. The stillness of the bridge lingered in Zeus as he stepped forward. The void dissolved, replaced by a glow unlike any he had seen before. The air shifted from silver to pale gold, as though light awakened. Before him stretched an expanse, painted with the first hues of dawn. Amber, rose, and fading blue blended into brightness. Above it all, a crown appeared, not of stone or metal, but of radiant morning light. It hovered high, calm and certain, like the rising Sunday. Zeus gazed upward, struck by its quiet majesty. Unlike thunder, sharp and sudden, this power was patient. Dawn always came. No matter the storm, no matter the night. He stepped forward, and the crown glimmered in response. For the first time in this journey, he felt welcome. The light wrapped around him, warm but not burning. It held no judgment, no demand, only renewal. Zeus remembered mortals who greeted dawn with hope. Farmers at their work, lovers at the day's first light, travelers setting forth under the rising Sunday. Dawn was promise. Dawn was certainty. Dawn was gift. The crown seemed to offer him the same gift now. Power was not only sudden, but steady and sure. The crown pulsed, and visions filled his sight. Nights ending, storms passing, eyes opening to light. Mortals placed their trust not in thunder, but in dawn. The crown spoke in radiance, not words. Asterisk. To rise is power. To return is power. To be steady is power. Asterisk. Zeus felt recognition stir within him. He had been the storm, the sudden force, but perhaps he could also be the dawn, the guardian of steadiness, the keeper of renewal. The crown glowed brighter, surrounding him with balance. Thunder remained, but even it must yield to morning. He bowed his head, humbled by the lesson. The crown lowered, glowing like a gentle halo. It was not possession, not conquest, only presence. He felt no urge to claim it. Dawn was not own. It belonged to every horizon. And yet, the crown blessed him still. It wrapped him in golden calm, steady and true. True power was not striking, but rising again. The crown lifted, returning to its eternal place. Its glow softened, but its warmth stayed within him. Thunder lived in him, but so did dawn. The frozen sky had crowned his spirit with renewal. The sky brightened, waiting for his next step, and within Zeus, dawn rose eternal. The air shimmered as Zeus stepped forward, leaving behind the crown of dawn. Each step felt lighter, as though storms and silence had loosened their hold. The frozen sky unfolded again. No longer trial, no longer mystery. It revealed itself as a circle, vast and whole, endless and true. Every path he had walked curved back to meet the others. Silence, echoes, dawn, stillness, all connected, pulsing with life. Zeus stood at the center, breathing deeply in the calm. He realized he was no longer only storm or thunder. He was silence, dawn, echoes, and stillness woven as one. The frozen sky had been a mirror, not a test. It reflected the parts of himself he had long ignored. His thunder was not diminished, only balanced by harmony. He lifted his gaze, the circle glowing brighter around him. Threads of past and future tied together in radiant light. Dawn breathed at his back. Silence stretched before him. Echoes hummed in his chest. Stillness steadied his feet. It was not chaos. It was not war. It was harmony. The circle turned slowly, endless and eternal. Night became day. Silence became song. Storm became calm. Everything returned, transformed yet whole in the rhythm. Zeus remembered mortals who trusted the sky's promise. They saw not only fear, but rain, renewal, and hope. The circle pulsed, and he felt its rhythm within him. Images unfolded. Mountains, oceans, forests, and waking fields, all breathed together, bound by the sky's eternal circle. The circle bowed to him, not as servant, but as companion. It demanded nothing, commanded nothing, simply welcomed him. For once, Zeus felt no urge to summon thunder. He felt no need to dominate or to command. He felt content to belong, one thread in the weave. Calm settled deep. Storms within his heart grew quiet. The crown of dawn glowed softly, a reminder of renewal. Echoes hummed like memory. Silence breathed like steady air. Zeus smiled, rare and gentle as he understood. The frozen sky was not separate from him. It was him, and it would guide him beyond. The circle pulsed once more, a final embrace of light. Then it dissolved, not into nothing, but into everything. The frozen sky faded, yet lingered in all things. Its presence lived in air, in light, in his heartbeat. Zeus stood alone, and yet not alone at all. The circle was complete, and he was renewed. He breathed deep, and the sky answered with harmony. Silence, song, light, and calm filled the world. The journey had ended, but the story had only begun.